Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Mark and Colleen Van Hoekstraat, the good doctors, bringing you health, truth, and freedom. And today
we are discussing a hot topic in healthcare,
kind of gross too,
which is parasites. Depending on what news and what social media you follow, you may be seeing this all over the place, or you may not even realize this is a health issue at all. It really just depends what your awareness is. So we want to talk about it because it's something that is of massive importance in the type of healthcare that we provide, because it really does end up being one of the root causes of so many chronic issues that people suffer from. So that's why we wanted to touch on this.
This is going to be a good video because we're going to cover a lot and really clear up some issues here. And it's very common. The name freaks people out. You say parasites, they think they're full of worms, but that's not always the case. But it's very common, very, very common, and we'll get into some of the causes or the symptoms and things like that, and you might be listening going, holy cow, I think I got parasites. Fortunately, there's lots of simple protocols to help clear them, so we'll get into a little bit of that as well.
If you think you have parasites, you're probably right, because it really
They're talking to you.
It really is an overwhelming number of humans worldwide who have parasites. And
surprisingly
one
large,
of the things
yeah.
we'll point out very briefly is there is a difference between having parasites and having an issue, a problem, a parasitic infection. So the majority of folks do absolutely have parasites. Where do we go from here?
Well, I don't know, let's just dive right in, get into some of the hot topics.
A couple things.
We want to introduce parasites. So.
Yeah, and I guess we just touched on it by saying the majority of people do have parasites. That's a couple myths that we need to bust right away, and we hear them in our practice where people have been told by either their doctor or their veterinarian that they're really not contagious. You cannot get parasites from your pets, things like that. No, parasites are very contagious, and we'll talk about how we can contract parasites, but it's very, very easy to spread them. You can assume if one person in your family has an issue with parasites, that the rest of the family probably does as well. So that's something that we need to just blow out of the water right away.
Yeah, unless you've been like hardcore 6-foot social distancing even in your own home, if you give hugs, give kisses, breathe, you can very easily pass on parasites between families, especially close family members.
Yeah.
But a parasite, what is a parasite? They're not always the creepy, crawly, wormy looking things that you see and hear about or see pictures of. Yes, tapeworms and pinworms exist, but the vast majority, probably 70% or more, you can't see with the naked eye. So you won't even see them in the toilet if you have them in most cases. So they're not always, what you picture, but a parasite is basically, it lives off of its own host. So if it finds a hospitable place to take up residence, i.e. your body, it's going to get everything it needs from you. So it's going to rob Peter to pay Paul, but it's not going to do it to the extent that it's going to cause such damage to you that you ultimately perish and die, because then it kills its own host. So it finds this happy medium, which is why you can have parasites and not have indications of a full-blown infection or major issue, because it's going to sort of fly under the radar. But that's basically what a parasite does. It robs you of things you need to satisfy its own life, and that's what can lead to the various symptoms, because the symptoms can be all over the map, and we'll go through a list of those here in a minute.
So the parasites leave you depleted of nutrients, depleted of energy, depleted of fuel. Therefore, you're more susceptible, you're more vulnerable, your resistance is lowered, so you're an open door to all sorts of other chronic healthcare issues. And since they can live in you for a long time and not kill you, what does that sound like? That sounds like chronic illness, right? So it's just one more root cause of chronic illness.
And they put off mycotoxins. So they create a very toxic environment and a very deficient environment.
Right.
So that's what can lead to a lot of the different symptoms. And parasites come in all sizes, and they can be in all different parts of the body. So when we typically think about parasites, we think about intestinal worms. But there's parasites that live in your blood system. There's parasites that live in organs like liver flukes and other ones. There's microscopic parasites. There's cellular parasites. So they can be, they could be in the brain. We know there's a strong link between parasites and many different cancers like brain cancer. So it's not just the worms. There's microscopic ones and ones that live all throughout the body. So that comes into play when you talk about eradicating them, doing some type of a parasite cleanse. You need to go after all the different sizes, not just the large worms that we can see.
Let's jump over to how does one acquire said parasite? Many ways.
Life.
Yeah, but probably
well, let's go through the list.
Probably the most common way. Yeah, you've got your list. Or do you?
No.
One of the most common ways most people are familiar with is through fecal matter, right? So you might not realize all the ways that we actually encounter that on a daily basis. Maybe you've got really great bathroom hygiene and you wash your hands every time you're in the bathroom, but we don't know that the person before us in a public bathroom, let's say, or even at home, washes their hands. So then you don't know what you're encountering on everything that everyone else touches, whether it's doorknobs, the salt shaker at a restaurant, right? And goes on and on. All the things that you touch, keyboards, everything that is shared. We are not big fans of disinfecting everything to the nth degree because that destroys your immune system as well. But we are fans of not being gross. So really just washing your hands.
Yeah, there is a healthy balance in this ecosystem we call planet Earth. And so parasites are part of that ecosystem just like viruses and bacteria. So they're everywhere. Parasites are everywhere you go. And so environmentally, you can contact them if you are in contact with any water that is not heavily chlorinated. There's likely some parasites in the water. If you walk around barefoot a lot, it's a very common avenue. They'll come up through the feet. Or you'll just have exposure just because they're in the soil.
There's even parasites, little worms that are known to jump up to your ankle level and climb on board that way too. So it's not always just being barefoot.
Parasite gymnastics.
Right? I think we jumped ahead to water, but let's go back to fecal matter. Why not? Just think if you have pets, what are they walking in and then bringing into your house?
Or eating.
Yeah, or eating or licking, and then you let them lick you in the face. And even if you don't, so maybe they're up on your furniture, in your bed, just consider what they encounter and what they don't necessarily find gross. They're bringing that around you as well. I just lost my train of thought.
Well, diapers.
Oh yeah. If you are currently helping someone with diapers, whether that's an infant or an elderly person, that can be a source of spread as well. There's so many ways that we just don't think of. I know what I was going to say.
Handling diapers. You work in a nursery or nursery or
nursing home?
No.
Assisted care? What?
Little ones. Daycare. Nursing.
If you're wearing your shoes into your home and around your home, that can be a source of spreading parasites as well.
Then go right down the list, yeah.
So we want to go
restaurant workers and employees handling
foods.
Improperly cooked foods, very common source of parasites.
Undercooked meats, contaminated fruits and vegetables.
Now food travels long distances before it gets to supermarkets or restaurants. Lots of chances for infection coming from other countries. If you travel a lot, especially to third world countries where hygiene's not that great, you can encounter parasites on a regular basis, drinking their water and things like that.
And not just hygiene not being that great, but sanitization.
And some of these might surprise you, when you really start to stop and think about it. Like, we had a pretty lengthy explanation there on all the ways you can come into contact with fecal material, and you're thinking, holy cow, I never even thought about it that way. It's all around us. Another one.
I don't know, what were you just pointing at?
Nail biting.
Oh, yeah. Nail biting. If you or a child, anyone in your family is a nail biter, that's such a common way to contract them.
Just a lot of dirt and things get under the nails and can be a perfect hiding spot for them.
Yeah. Where else? I'm jumping all over the place here.
Yes, that's pretty good. Just know like they're all around us. They're part of our world. Just think of it this way. Just like we've talked about viruses in the past, parasites are another microbe that we're going to encounter. You can't avoid them or eliminate them. So when you maintain a healthy terrain, when you maintain a healthy immune system, a healthy internal ecosystem, that creates the balance where they're not going to really like you as a host so much. So they're not going to, they're not going to hang around, or your body's going to be able to handle them. So again, focus back on your health. Yes, you want to practice, good hygiene, but just know you can't avoid them. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about fecal matter, we talked about water. Parasites can also be spread in the air. So that's why I made the comment earlier, also through breathing, right? Mm-hmm. They can definitely be spread through the air, through pets, through animals, through farms, those types of things, but also things like mosquitoes, flies, fleas. Yeah, and then you mentioned really any water that's not heavily chlorinated. Even chlorinated water has been shown to have parasites in it, and
they adapt really well.
Smart little buggers. Okay, so let's move on to some of the common signs and symptoms, and pay very close attention to this, because I guarantee you at least one of them is going to ring true for you, and you may not have associated that with parasites, and maybe you've even tried other things to get rid of said symptom or condition, and it hasn't been overly effective, and this could be why. Maybe it's really a parasite that's the root cause.
And then we're going to give you a cool little tool to help you judge or quantify it, maybe if it is something you should look at taking care of. So I've got just a list of some of the more common signs and symptoms, and they really run the gamut about everything from mood disorders, strong cravings for processed and sugary foods, a lot of anemias and iron deficiency anemias can be caused by parasites because they cause blood loss. All kinds of skin ailments, from hives, rashes, eczema, itchy skin, dermatitis, acne, ulcers, sores, lesions, you name it. Recurring yeast infections like candida, bleeding gums, headaches, anxiety, nervousness, teeth grinding, classic sign of parasites, and that could be throughout the day, not just at night. Food allergies and food sensitivities, loss of appetite, sexual dysfunction, chronic fatigue, unhealthy food cravings, persistent digestive problems, constipation, diarrhea, cramping, bloating, gas, you name it. Hungry all the time, just can't stop being hungry. Sore, stiff joints.
So wait, did you catch that? It could actually be loss of appetite, or it could be increased appetite, depending on what you got and where.
Breathing problems, itching, especially around the mouth, nose, anus, ears, just chronic itching that just never satisfied, memory problems. And a couple of those I just wanted to touch on because it'll help explain a little bit why they're so common. But we'll see this in both children and adults, where you'll see a lot of mood issues, everything from anger to depression to anxiety to outbursts to depression, if I didn't say that already. And one of the reasons is the parasites really like to eat protein. And without getting too technical or too detailed, they really like protein sources, and so that's one of the nutrients that they're going to rob your body of. They're going to eat the protein that you consume before your body has a chance to use those basic building blocks, those amino acids, to build your neurotransmitters. So the good guys like serotonin and dopamine, the things that make you feel good and feel joyous, you can become deficient because you don't have the basic building blocks. And so that's one of the things you'll see, pretty rapidly improve. And sometimes we'll even add basic amino acids to a protocol because that's not what the parasites eat. They eat the whole protein. And so a lot of times we can start to quickly help people feel better just mentally and emotionally. So I just wanted to explain one of those.
I'd like to expand on his expansion of that as well. That's a common population that we help in our practice, is parents will bring their children in, whether they're elementary age, high school age, because they're noticing major changes in their personality, and usually it's pretty extreme swings that they'll see in their personality.
It's kind of sad.
But it's an amazing thing. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to see how quickly they turn things around and they get their child back once we start working on the parasite protocol.
Yeah, especially if you're noticing things like rage, sudden outbursts, just withdrawal, things like that.
Yeah, we hear it all the time. Like this is not my kid.
Yeah.
consider that it might be parasites. Another sign, I know you said skin issues, so and you mentioned itchiness. Consider the person who just always seems to have little itchiness and chronic sniffles all day long. Consider parasites. That's a big sign.
So we have a little tool available on our website, and it's a little parasite quiz. Let me see if I can bring this up a little there. And so if you go to our website at lifetimewellness.net, you'll see a parasite tab on the top menu. Just click on that, and down on that page there'll be a download link. And it's 50 questions, and depending on your score, it will tell you if you likely have a parasite that you need to take care of, or if you score low, then maybe not. So just a simple tool. Take it yourself, see where you score.
Self-assessment.
Yeah. And if you need help, with that, we work with people anywhere, and we do have a very successful parasite protocol that we use. Yeah. I'm not going to get into details yet, but very effective. It's been around for decades, and what's cool about our protocol is we use several different remedies that go after the different sizes of the parasites. So it's not just a one size fits all. We have them for large, small, microscopic, and cellular parasites. So we help clear the gamut. Yep.
Yeah, because you can find a corner store parasite cleanse that might address one thing and not very well, not very thoroughly, or you can address all of them extremely well. So that's what we would prefer to do.
Yep.
So you touched on, we showed them the assessment, which is a really good idea. It's going to start to give you a feeling for whether this is something you need to address or not. Some people mentally need a little bit more. There are tests you can do.
You want me to get into that?
Yeah, briefly, because we also think, I'll flip to the end of that thought, which is you really don't need to test per se, because the assumption is there that we have parasites and the treatment is safe. We could go about it proactively, prophylactically, if you will, treat as if there's parasitic infestation in the body and deal with it.
Yeah, because there's really no downside to on the treatment side.
Yeah, as far as safety and efficiency goes, but you can test if you want to test.
Yeah, and some of the testing can get expensive. So one thing, just talking about that, is some of the stool tests and more functional medicine related lab testing for parasites typically are going to be stool based, but like I said earlier, that's not where they always are. So if you've got liver flukes or you've got other types of parasites that aren't in the intestines, well, the stool test is going to show negative. And on top of that, there's literally hundreds, if not up to 1,000 parasites that we know of that can infect humans. And on a typical stool test, you might be looking at 20, maybe a little bit more than that. So you might miss a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And on a standard blood test, a CBC with differential, the eosinophils can be a strong indicator of parasites or food sensitivities, food allergies. But that's not always going to be elevated, because typically that's going to show up in the case of the larger ones like the worms and so forth. But that can be an indicator. Now that's a very inexpensive test, a CBC with differential, but you're looking at the eosinophil markers. So there are some tests you can do, but like Dr. Colleen said, if you score high, you have any of these signs or symptoms, might as well just do a healthy parasite cleanse. You'll probably feel tons better, and it might be something you decide to do, once a year, maybe a couple cycles of it. There's ways to incorporate it into just being healthy.
Depending on what type of a protocol you use, there's families who will do a general parasite protocol minimum once a year. Some people do it more frequently throughout the summer.
We're going to deworm the family. Deworm.
But particularly in the warmer months, when you're in the water more often, barefoot more often, all those things that we talked about, you might decide that you need to crank that up a little bit. I don't know if you said signs and symptoms, if you mentioned allergies. Is that in there? Okay.
Food allergies and food sensitivities, but also just
allergies in general, environmental allergies. If you have chronic allergies that don't clear up with other treatments, it could actually be parasitic in nature.
And again, that's because the parasites themselves leave behind toxins, mycotoxins. They create inflammation in the body. your immune system is hard at work chronically, so that just opens the door to being more susceptible and more sensitive to things.
Okay, so we're we're exactly 20 minutes into this. You want to touch a little bit on the protocol?
Well, the protocol that we use, again, there's lots of products available. We use a company called Systemic Formulas, and this protocol has been around a long time. And the protocol is set up in a 10-day on, 5-day off cycle. So you're taking the products for 10 days and then taking a break for 5 days, and then another 10 days, and it's recommended to start with at least 3 cycles. Sometimes people need to go longer, or they can kind of take a break and reassess, maybe then repeat it again down the road. But again, the 4 main products are designed to eradicate all the different sizes of parasites. There's another product designed to help eliminate or break down the biofilm that they protect themselves with, and then there's a binder, because we want to make sure that those toxins are out of the body. So that works primarily in the gut where things get dumped. And so it's a pretty simple protocol. There isn't an optional product. Sometimes we'll add if they need some heavy duty gunpowder in there. But other than that, so the protocol that we put together, it's on the website, it's explained there, gets you through those 3 cycles. It takes about 45 days, and then, like I said, then we can reassess. But it's simple, it's very safe, it's all plant-based, herbalomic, botanical, herbal-based supplements with a long history and solid track record with helping to eliminate parasites.
Mm-hmm. And we've just, like I said earlier, have had incredible feedback from all age groups who have been using this protocol. I'm doing it right now. I'm almost halfway into a 6-cycle routine. I'm doing it doubling the 3 months, just with some of the stuff I've been dealing with this year.
So just after we've gone through that, if you do have any questions, either leave them in the comments below, or just reach out to us through our website, send us an email, and we can answer those.
Yep. And then I think that we will, I want to touch on some of the most frequently asked questions we have regarding these protocols. This has been a hot topic the last few weeks around here. So some of the most common things that we're asked about: what are the side effects if I start to remove these parasites, if I do a parasite protocol? What are some of the side effects? You can definitely have, hopefully, you're gonna have die-off of the parasites, right? Most people don't even know that that's happening in their bodies. They don't even notice it at all. Some people might have some low-grade symptoms, like they feel a little funky for a few days in it. Like
Typical
I said,
Herxheimer reaction, so
yeah.
it's just
I've been
part of the
doing
deal.
this for weeks already, and I've not had a single side effect like that. So it's very individual.
You can have some sightings. We call them sightings when you look back in the toilet after you do your biz. Sometimes
So
people
that was
will
one
see.
of the most frequently asked questions: is what will I see?
Yeah, a lot of times, again, they're not visual to the naked eye, but sometimes people will see funky stuff that you could probably attribute to die-off. It could be eggs. It could be parasites that just don't look like what you think they look like. You could see some stringy things. You could see some worms. We don't know. We don't know what's in you, but better out than in, we always say.
I'll come back to this one. How will I feel? Most people, unless you have that little die-off reaction, parasites dying off, not you, where you feel a little, I don't want to say under the weather. Just, you might have a low-grade headache. You might.
Well, you're cleansing. You're detoxing. So
again, that is definitely not everyone.
Thing.
I would say more often than not, people start to feel energy, clarity. They're sleeping better.
The fog is lifted.
Pooping better. Like everything's just working better.
Yep.
Normally, pretty early into that process as well. A really common question we get: is there a special diet I have to follow? No. But because of who we are and what we do and what we teach, we're always going to recommend that you eat real food, the least toxic food possible. Choose from
less sugar and carbs,
definitely
less processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of the seed oils, canola oils.
Yeah, the toxic fats and oils, get rid of those.
You're trying to unburden the body.
Healthy protein, healthy fat, fruits and vegetables, not contaminated, and cook your meat.
There you go.
How long does it take?
Yeah, it varies.
We start with 3 cycles, right? Like I said, out of the gates, I'm going through 6 cycles this time around just because of a health issue I'm dealing with. So it really depends what you've got going on, how long you've had a health issue, how serious it is.
And I would say, as a general rule amongst functional medicine, functional nutrition docs, is if you're working on eradicating parasites and you think you've gotten them, do one more round or one more go at it, because they lay eggs, they have a life cycle, so they can rear their ugly head again in 30, 60 days.
Literally their ugly head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also something you might decide to do in another 6 months, another year, just make it a routine thing. There's also shorter.
That was the last frequently asked question, is how often should I do this?
So again, that's totally personal and individual. And there's also even shorter protocols, typically after someone's done a more thorough one, when we call them the full moon kits or full moon phases, where you take the protocol for 5 to 7 days surrounding a full moon. So 3 to 4 days before, 3 to 4 days after, once a month, boom. And you might do that for 4 to 6 months just to keep clearing them every single month. They tend to be more active at that time of the month. So that's a very common use. So there you go.
So parasites.
Get down and dirty on parasites.
On the more controversial side of things as well, 2 things that you should know, and we'll do this without saying it so that this video can actually stay up. 2 things that parasites have been very directly related to, correlated with, whatever the word is. The big scary C. Parasites are very, very directly related to that. We talked about tumors earlier, and a couple doctors that I listen to and read their work regularly say they've not met a brain tumor that wasn't driven by parasites. So
Well,
that's,
just go back and read any book by Helga Clark.
Yep. It doesn't always have to be a cancerous tumor. Tumors in general are often related to parasites. And the other one is the issue that we've been dealing with since 2020. Many folks see a parasitic connection there, and that is why the 2 of the most popular prescribed medications for said,
The one that's 60 years old, the other one is 70 years old.
both have anti-parasitic properties to them, right? So there's a connection there. So again, doing a parasite protocol can help you and can protect you in a very prophylactic way as well. All right?
Bam. So, share this video. I'm sure you have friends that need to hear this stuff. Subscribe to our channel here. We are also on Rumble and YouTube. Rumble's our backup in case we get another flag. But yeah, any questions, leave them in the comments. Share any stories. If you've done parasite cleanse, we'd love to hear. I don't know about posting pictures, but share your story, the health changes you've had. If you want some help working with this, contact our office. We work with people all over the place. We can do this virtually and just send you what you need. Very, very simple. In fact, you can order it right on our website if you want to get started right away.
Yep.
So, Dr. Mark, Dr. Colleen signing off from The Good Doctors. We'll see you next time.
Bye for now.